Have you ever noticed how some people achieve greatness quietly while others shout their efforts to the world and accomplish very little? There is a power in silence. There is strength in patience. The world admires results, not excuses. And it is those who build themselves silently who become unstoppable. Today, I want to show you how to become a person of value, influence, and power without needing anyone's approval, without seeking applause, and without being distracted by the noise around you. If you truly want to transform your life, listen carefully, because what I am about to share will awaken the giant inside you. Have you ever watched a child playing with complete focus, building a tower with blocks, not caring about what anyone thinks, completely absorbed in what they are creating? That is purpose in its purest form. They are driven by a vision, a desire to create, to see something complete in their hands, and they do not stop until the tower stands. Now imagine if every adult approached life with that kind of clarity, that kind of undivided focus. Too many people drift through life like leaves in the wind, carried by circumstances, opinions, and distractions. They wake up every day without a direction, without a reason to push themselves harder than the day before. But when you know your purpose, even the smallest actions take on monumental significance. You start to see opportunity where others see obstacles. When a janitor sweeps the floor meticulously, it is not just about cleaning. It is about pride in their work, mastery in small things, and a step toward building a life of dignity. When a teacher patiently repeats the same lesson 50 times, they are not exhausted. They are committed to a purpose, a mission to shape minds and transform futures. Your purpose is not always grand or loud. It begins quietly in the choices you make every day, the habits you build, and the attention you give to what matters most. Think about the farmer who wakes up before dawn, planting seeds he may never see grow into full harvest. Every seed is an act of faith, an understanding that the work he does today is in service of a future he cannot yet see. Without knowing the purpose behind his toil, he might give up at the first sign of difficulty, leaving fields barren and potential wasted. The purpose of his labor is larger than the sweat on his brow. It is about growth, provision, and leaving a legacy. In the same way, your purpose gives your actions meaning beyond immediate results. It teaches patience, resilience, and the understanding that the life you are building requires vision, strategy, and unwavering commitment. Many people confuse purpose with activity. They think being busy is the same as being productive. They wake up, scroll social media, reply to messages, attend meetings, and call it work, but it all lacks direction. Purpose is not about being active. It is about being intentional. It is the clarity that allows you to know which battles to fight, which doors to open, and which voices to ignore. It is what gives you strength when the crowd mocks your efforts, when failure seems to surround you, when the world tells you that your dreams are impossible. Purpose does not ask for approval. It fuels persistence. It is why an artist continues to paint even when no one buys a single piece, because the act of creation is aligned with a calling they cannot deny. It is why an entrepreneur endures rejection after rejection, because they see the invisible potential in an idea that others dismiss. Purpose is discovered in self-reflection, in listening to your inner voice rather than the noise of the world. It shows up in moments of discomfort, in challenges that force you to ask yourself what truly matters. When a young mother sacrifices sleep to care for a sick child, she is living a purpose that transcends fatigue. She is acting on love, responsibility, and the knowledge that her actions shape the life of another. When a student studies late into the night, fueled by the dream of a brighter future, it is purpose that keeps the mind sharp, the hands steady, and the spirit unbroken. The clarity of purpose turns ordinary people into extraordinary ones because it aligns every thought, every effort, and every decision with a higher standard. There is power in knowing why you exist because it changes your relationship with time. Suddenly, hours become precious, moments become opportunities, and distractions become irrelevant. The office worker who arrives early, who meticulously organizes files, who takes notes on every task, is not merely doing work. They are training themselves, preparing for promotion, influence, or mastery, and every small act compounds over time. The teenager who spends extra hours learning a language or skill is investing in a future identity they are constructing for themselves silently, patiently, intentionally. Without purpose, time slips away unnoticed, wasted on trivialities, leaving only regret. With purpose, time becomes an ally, a tool, and a canvas on which to paint a life of meaning. Purpose also gives courage. It allows you to face rejection without despair, failure without bitterness, and uncertainty without panic. It is why an inventor continues tinkering with a prototype that has failed dozens of times. It is why a writer keeps submitting manuscripts after being turned down repeatedly. The clarity of purpose shields you from distraction and doubt because it reminds you that your life is meant for more than temporary comfort. It is why athletes train in silence, pushing muscles to the point of pain, knowing that excellence is forged in sacrifice and persistence. Every drop of sweat, every sleepless night, every setback becomes a testimony of commitment when you are guided by purpose. Purpose transforms your mind and your environment. People with clear purpose attract opportunities and relationships that align with their vision. The small bookstore owner who carefully curates books for their community is not just selling. They are shaping culture, influencing minds, and fulfilling a mission that ripples outward quietly. The purpose-driven engineer who solves a problem that makes daily life easier for thousands of people is leaving a legacy that will be remembered long after their name is known. When you understand why you are here, every action becomes intentional, every encounter becomes strategic, and every obstacle becomes a stepping stone. Understanding your purpose is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the difference between drifting and navigating, between surviving and thriving, between ordinary existence and extraordinary impact. It is the invisible force that fuels ambition, strengthens discipline, and ensures that every effort you make is not wasted. Without it, talent becomes wasted potential, and dreams remain fantasies. With it, the impossible becomes achievable, the ordinary becomes exceptional, and your life becomes a masterpiece painted with deliberate strokes, patience, and unwavering vision. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to grow while others remain the same year after year? The secret is simple. They invest in themselves. Investing in yourself is not just about money. It is about time, energy, focus, and the commitment to becoming a better version of who you are today than you were yesterday. Think about the young man who wakes up an hour earlier every morning to read a book while the world is still asleep, while others hit the snooze button and drift into the day without direction. He understands that the knowledge he gains today compounds into wisdom tomorrow, and that wisdom shapes the decisions that will define the rest of his life. Investing in yourself means showing up for yourself when no one else does, and putting effort into things that no one might see, but that will transform the trajectory of your life. Consider the teenager who spends hours practicing the piano, long after the applause has faded, long after everyone else has gone home. Every finger movement, every repetition, every struggle with a difficult piece is a deposit into the account of their own excellence. They do not practice for fame. They practice because they know the value of mastery. Every time they push through the frustration, they are building resilience, confidence, and skill that will serve them for a lifetime. Investing in yourself requires patience. It requires consistency, and it requires a belief that the effort you make in private will eventually produce visible results in the public world. Look at the office worker who takes the time to learn a new software program, even though it is not required today. They are investing in their future because they understand that skills are transferable, that knowledge is power, and that no one can take what you have worked hard to earn inside your mind. When the promotion comes, when the opportunity arises, it will be clear who has been preparing and who has been waiting. Investing in yourself is about foresight, about seeing the invisible threads that connect your actions today with the possibilities of tomorrow. Even in everyday life, investment in yourself is evident in simple choices. It is in choosing to read instead of scrolling endlessly through social media, in choosing to eat food that nourishes the body rather than just satisfies hunger, in choosing to speak kindly to yourself instead of giving in to negative self-talk. Each of these choices, small as they may seem, is a deposit into your own potential, a step toward becoming the person you are capable of being. The world is full of distractions, but the person who invests in themselves sees every moment as an opportunity to grow, to strengthen, to prepare. Consider the athlete who trains every day, rain or shine, pushing through pain, fatigue, and the temptation to rest. Their body becomes stronger, their mind sharper, their discipline unbreakable. They understand that investment in themselves is not a one-time action. It is a lifestyle, a daily commitment to improvement, a refusal to settle for mediocrity. Every lap run, every weight lifted, every early morning or late night spent honing skills is a demonstration of respect for their own potential. In the same way, when you invest in yourself, you are telling the world, and more importantly, yourself, that you are worth the effort, that your dreams are worth preparation, and that your future self deserves the sacrifice of today. Investment in yourself is not always comfortable. It requires you to step outside the easy, to embrace challenges, and to persist when results are not immediate. Think of the writer who rewrites a chapter over and over, rejecting their own first drafts until the words capture exactly what they intend to express. They are investing in themselves because they know that skill comes from effort and that excellence is forged in the willingness to keep improving. Every rejection, every failed attempt, every moment of doubt is an opportunity to build resilience and capacity. When you invest in yourself, you do not fear failure. You understand it is part of the process, part of the journey to becoming someone who can handle success when it arrives. Even financially, investment in yourself is powerful. Taking a course, attending a seminar, buying a book, or hiring a mentor is not an expense. It is planting a seed for growth. The small amounts you dedicate to learning, expanding your skills, and developing your mindset yield dividends far beyond what you can imagine. It is like the gardener who waters seeds daily, patiently tending to the soil, knowing that in time a beautiful garden will grow. Those who fail to invest in themselves often remain stagnant, wondering why opportunities pass them by, unaware that the time and effort they refused to give themselves was the very reason for their limitation. Investment in yourself also means protecting your mental and emotional energy. It is about surrounding yourself with people who inspire and challenge you rather than those who drain your spirit. It is about developing habits that build focus and clarity rather than habits that breed distraction and doubt. It is about learning to value your own growth above external validation, understanding that the most important audience you must satisfy is yourself, and the world will notice only when you are ready. Everyday life is full of examples. The student who tutors themselves in a subject their classmates struggle with, the mother who takes night classes after caring for her children, the employee who spends lunch breaks studying a new skill, the entrepreneur who sacrifices social gatherings to work on their dream, the young person who listens to podcasts, reads books, or writes reflections while others waste time scrolling. Each of these actions, invisible to the casual observer, is an investment in self, a declaration that they are worth more than a momentary distraction, and that their life is worth building with intention and purpose. Discipline is the invisible force that separates those who dream from those who achieve. It is not glamorous, it is not exciting, and it rarely brings immediate recognition, but it is the foundation of every success story. Consider the student who sets a schedule and sticks to it, waking up early to study when the rest of the house is asleep. No one applauds them at 6 in the morning. No one notices the hours spent memorizing, practicing, and revising. Yet these small, consistent actions accumulate into knowledge that will open doors later in life. Discipline is about choosing what is necessary over what is comfortable, about making sacrifices today for results tomorrow. Look at the athlete who runs laps in the cold before dawn, who stretches, lifts, and trains when the crowd is nowhere in sight. Their muscles ache, their body protests, yet they keep going. The discipline to endure when the world is still dreaming is what sets them apart from those who quit at the first sign of challenge. The same applies to life outside the field. Discipline is what allows an entrepreneur to continue perfecting their craft after countless failures, to study competitors, to learn skills others overlook, to refine ideas, and to stay committed when the bank account is low and doubt creeps in. It is in these moments of unseen effort that greatness is forged, and discipline is the tool that transforms potential into reality. Even in ordinary daily life, discipline manifests in simple yet profound ways. The person who wakes up to exercise consistently, even on days when they feel tired, is training not just their body but their mind. The discipline to act despite feelings of laziness or boredom builds resilience, focus, and self-respect. The parent who patiently teaches their child to tie their shoes or helps them with homework every evening demonstrates discipline in nurturing growth, shaping the next generation, and fulfilling responsibilities without complaint. These small repeated actions create a pattern of excellence that compounds over time, proving that discipline is not about momentary heroics but about consistent effort. Discipline is also about controlling impulses and avoiding distractions. Consider the young professional who turns off social media notifications to focus on completing an important project. The temptation to check messages, to scroll endlessly, or to engage in gossip is strong, yet they resist because they understand the value of focused effort. Discipline is what allows them to make choices that align with their long-term goals rather than surrendering to temporary pleasure. It is why successful people often live differently than the crowd. They delay gratification, they prioritize growth, and they master their impulses to act in service of their vision. The power of discipline is evident in the life of the artist who practices for hours, repeating a single stroke until it is perfect. At first, it may seem tedious, unnecessary even, but over time, those repeated actions create skill, mastery, and eventually brilliance. The painter does not create a masterpiece in one day. They embrace the discipline of repetition, of refining technique, and of showing up consistently. In the same way, life rewards those who embrace discipline by turning ordinary efforts into extraordinary results, by transforming small daily victories into monumental achievements. Discipline also teaches humility and patience. It requires understanding that success is not instantaneous, that growth is gradual, and that every day counts. The writer who sits down daily to write, even when inspiration is absent, is investing in a future moment when their persistence produces a work that will touch hearts and change minds. The chef who follows precise steps in preparing a meal is cultivating skill that cannot be rushed, understanding that mastery comes from attention to detail, repetition, and respect for the process. Discipline transforms ordinary effort into excellence, and patience ensures that the fruits of that effort are sustainable. Consider the student who consistently completes assignments on time, studies for tests ahead of schedule, and seeks extra learning opportunities. They do not do it for immediate praise. They do it because discipline has taught them to value preparation, to honor responsibility, and to recognize that excellence is built incrementally. The habits they cultivate quietly compound into a life of opportunity, advantage, and success. The same applies to personal growth, reading every day, journaling thoughts, practicing new skills, and setting boundaries are all acts of discipline that shape character and create momentum toward long-term goals. Discipline is what allows ordinary people to do extraordinary things. It is what separates someone who dreams about being a leader from someone who actually leads. It is what enables the musician to perform flawlessly, the entrepreneur to launch a business successfully, the parent to raise children with consistency and love, the student to excel academically, and the professional to rise above mediocrity. Discipline is the secret currency of achievement, paid for in private, unseen moments, yet yielding rewards in public visibility, influence, and respect. It is not a restriction, it is freedom. Freedom from chaos, freedom from failure, freedom from regret, and freedom to become exactly the person you were meant to be. Everyday life provides countless examples of discipline at work. The delivery driver who leaves home on time every day, rain or shine, because punctuality is non-negotiable. The nurse who works long shifts while maintaining compassion and focus. The chef who rehearses recipes tirelessly before serving them. The coder who studies new programming languages while others play video games. The salesperson who follows up with clients consistently instead of waiting for leads to come to them. Each of these acts, though ordinary to outsiders, demonstrates a commitment to discipline that produces extraordinary results over time. Embracing discipline is not easy. It is uncomfortable. It often feels restrictive. It challenges your habits, your excuses, and your comfort zones. Yet it is the very thing that transforms potential into achievement, dreams into reality, and ordinary lives into legacies. Distractions are the silent killers of potential. They creep into your life in small, subtle ways, convincing you that temporary pleasure is more important than long-term success. Have you ever noticed how easily time slips away while scrolling endlessly through social media, watching video after video, or engaging in meaningless arguments online? Those hours, unnoticed and unvalued, are bricks that should have built the foundation of your future. The person who stays away from distractions understands that every moment is valuable, that attention is a currency, and that what you focus on determines who you become. Consider the student who turns off notifications, silences their phone, and immerses themselves fully in their studies. While their peers are lost in endless chatter and digital noise, they are creating knowledge, skill, and opportunities that will set them apart in the future. Look at the young athlete who ignores the temptations of late night parties, unhealthy food, and idle gossip. They choose instead to train, to rest, and to fuel their body with what it needs to perform at its best. Their discipline is reinforced by avoiding distractions, understanding that a single night of indulgence can undo weeks of preparation. Distractions are everywhere. They are comfortable chairs that prevent movement, enticing screens that steal focus, and voices that sow doubt. But the person who masters them creates freedom, clarity, and momentum in life. Even in daily life, avoiding distractions shapes character and builds strength. Consider the employee who, instead of engaging in office gossip, spends their lunch break improving skills, reading, or brainstorming ideas. No one may notice at first, but over time, the results become undeniable. Promotions, recognition, and opportunities rarely come to those who are busy with trivial matters. They come to those who are deliberate, focused, and intentional with their attention. Distractions may feel harmless, but they erode productivity, drain energy, and scatter focus, leaving potential untapped and dreams delayed. Distractions are also disguised as urgent tasks that do not matter. Answering unnecessary emails immediately, reacting to every notification, or engaging in debates that lead nowhere are traps that consume time and energy. The person who stays away from these knows that saying no is a skill, that protecting focus is an act of self-respect, and that clarity comes from silence, stillness, and intention. Imagine the writer who turns off their phone to finish a chapter of their book, the painter who locks themselves in a studio to complete a painting, or the entrepreneur who dedicates an uninterrupted morning to strategizing for their business. The world may not see the effort, but the results will speak louder than applause ever could. Consider the parent who ignores distractions to spend focused time with their child, teaching lessons, building trust, and creating memories. They understand that every minute counts, that the mind of a child is shaped in small, undivided moments, and that distractions steal opportunities that cannot be replaced. Even simple distractions, checking the phone while talking, glancing at a screen instead of listening, erode relationships, reduce effectiveness, and create regret. The practice of staying focused, of giving full attention to what matters, creates depth, trust, and excellence in every area of life. Distractions are also mental. Negative thoughts, fear, and doubt compete for attention and energy. The person who stays away from distractions trains their mind to focus on the solution rather than the problem, on action rather than complaint, and on growth rather than comfort. Consider the student who faces difficulty in a subject but chooses to study persistently rather than giving in to self-pity. Consider the entrepreneur who faces repeated rejection but continues to refine their strategy instead of complaining about circumstances. Avoiding distractions is not merely about ignoring the outside world. It is about mastering your inner world, directing thoughts, energy, and effort toward what truly matters. Even the most ordinary daily examples highlight the importance of focus. The cook who follows a recipe carefully, the musician who practices scales methodically, the carpenter who measures twice and cuts once, the driver who concentrates fully on the road, the gardener who tends each plant with care. All avoid distractions to achieve excellence. Success is rarely the result of luck. It is the result of attention, dedication, and the deliberate avoidance of things that dilute effort. Distractions are everywhere, but those who rise above them build lives that others only dream of. Avoiding distractions also allows for creative thinking and innovation. When your mind is not constantly pulled in different directions, ideas have room to grow, solutions appear, and vision becomes clear. The young programmer who spends hours coding without interruption may develop a breakthrough that changes a company, an industry, or a life. The student who studies quietly without constant interruption may discover insights that others miss. The quiet, uninterrupted focus is a superpower because it allows your mind to work deeply, solve problems, and create value that is lasting. The ability to stay away from distractions is a habit cultivated daily through intention. It is the difference between a life that drifts and a life that moves purposefully. Consider the salesperson who avoids chatting with colleagues unnecessarily and instead focuses on improving pitches and following up with clients. Consider the teacher who spends evenings preparing lessons rather than scrolling social media. Consider the young adult who limits screen time to read, learn, and grow. Each small choice to resist distraction compounds over time into extraordinary results. Those who master this skill understand that life rewards focus, intention, and sustained energy. Distractions may be loud, tempting, and everywhere, but those who rise above them understand the value of their own time, energy, and mind. They know that by protecting what is most precious, their focus, they are building a life of impact, influence, and fulfillment, and that the noise of the world can never touch what they have cultivated in silence. Patience is the quiet strength that separates those who achieve greatness from those who surrender to frustration and haste. It is the ability to endure discomfort, delay gratification, and trust the process even when the results are not visible. Have you ever watched a gardener planting seeds in the soil? Day after day, they water, nurture, and protect the plants, but there is no immediate reward. Some days it may seem that nothing is happening, and yet beneath the surface, roots are growing, stems are strengthening, and leaves are preparing to blossom. The patient gardener understands that growth takes time, that rushing the process will ruin the outcome, and that every small effort, consistently applied, will yield a harvest beyond imagination. Life works the same way, and those who master patience know that their invisible effort today will manifest into undeniable results tomorrow. Consider the student who studies diligently for an exam, knowing that cramming at the last minute will not produce mastery. Each hour spent reading, reviewing, and practicing adds layers of understanding that cannot be rushed. The patience to invest time consistently transforms anxiety into confidence, struggle into skill, and doubt into achievement. Impatience tempts many to seek shortcuts, to compare themselves to others, or to abandon the path entirely. But the person who masters patience understands that true success is built incrementally, quietly, and persistently, one deliberate step at a time. Even in daily life, patience shows its power in small but meaningful ways. The parent who calmly teaches a child to tie their shoes, to ride a bicycle, or to understand a difficult lesson does so knowing that frustration will not accelerate growth. The teacher who repeats a lesson 50 times to ensure understanding is practicing patience, creating foundations of knowledge that will last a lifetime. The young artist who continues to paint the same canvas repeatedly, refining details, blending colors, and adjusting strokes embodies patience because they understand that mastery is a journey, not a single moment of inspiration. Patience is also essential when facing setbacks. The entrepreneur whose first business fails, the writer who receives rejection letters repeatedly, the athlete who loses competitions again and again. These individuals understand that failure is not a verdict, but a lesson, and that perseverance requires the ability to remain patient with the process. Impatience tempts one to quit, to blame circumstances, or to abandon the dream entirely. But patience allows one to analyze, learn, adapt, and try again. It is in these moments of delay, discomfort, and resistance that character is built, skills are honed, and resilience is forged. Consider the long-term effects of patience in everyday habits. The person who eats healthy, exercises consistently, and avoids temporary indulgence is cultivating a body and mind capable of extraordinary achievements in the future. The student who reads a few pages every day is building knowledge that will compound into wisdom over time. The professional who shows up early, prepares diligently, and maintains focus daily is crafting a career that others can only admire from afar. Patience is the engine behind progress, and without it, effort dissipates, dreams fade, and potential remains unrealized. Patience also teaches humility and perspective. It reminds us that we do not control everything, and that life unfolds according to a rhythm we cannot always see. The nurse who works long shifts caring for patients, the farmer who waits for rain, the coder who troubleshoots errors in a complex program. These people understand that results cannot be forced. They practice patience because they recognize the value of timing, the importance of endurance, and the inevitability of delayed outcomes. Impatience creates stress, poor decisions, and regret, but patience produces clarity, composure, and the ability to act wisely when the moment arrives. Even in the simplest aspects of life, patience has profound effects. Consider waiting in line, commuting through traffic, or enduring a long meeting. Those who cultivate patience in these small moments are training themselves for the bigger challenges of life. They learn control over emotions, focus on what truly matters, and refuse to be distracted by temporary irritation. The consistent practice of patience turns ordinary moments into exercises in self-mastery, creating a mindset that can handle setbacks, delays, and obstacles without surrendering to frustration or despair. Patience also allows for reflection, creativity, and insight. The thinker who waits to respond, the writer who revises, the scientist who experiments repeatedly. They understand that time and careful observation lead to breakthroughs. Impatience, on the other hand, produces errors, missed opportunities, and shallow results. The person who masters patience has an inner calm that enables them to see beyond immediate difficulties, to anticipate consequences, and to make choices that lead to sustainable success. Consider the everyday examples that reveal patience in action. The chef who perfects a recipe over weeks, The musician who rehearses for hours before a performance, the student who solves problems step by step rather than seeking quick answers, the gardener who tends plants daily without seeing instant growth. Each example demonstrates that enduring the process, trusting the journey, and consistently applying effort yields rewards that are lasting, meaningful, and transformative. Mastering patience is not a passive act. It is active, intentional, and demanding. It requires focus, self-control, and the vision to see beyond immediate discomfort. It is the ability to embrace the struggle, to wait without complaint, and to persist without visible reward. Those who cultivate patience understand that life rewards consistency, endurance, and measured effort, and that the things worth achieving are never instant, never easy, and never accidental. Measuring your progress privately is one of the most powerful habits a person can develop. It is the understanding that true growth does not need an audience, that validation from others is not the fuel for achievement, and that the silent observer of your own journey is the one who can guide you to excellence. Have you ever noticed how some people announce every small step they take, posting updates, seeking likes, applause, or approval, yet their results remain shallow? They are distracted by recognition, and they confuse visibility with progress. The person who measures their growth privately, however, focuses on the work itself, the incremental gains, and the cumulative effect of consistent effort. This is the difference between someone who performs for attention and someone who performs for transformation. Consider the young student who keeps a journal of every concept they master, every problem they solve, and every skill they improve. They do not share this with anyone. They do not need praise for completing homework or mastering a chapter. But over time, these small private records reveal a trajectory of growth that is undeniable. When exams come, when opportunities appear, or when life demands performance, they are ready. Their progress was measured not in likes or recognition, but in the steady accumulation of competence and mastery. Every step they took in silence compounds into a future where success is inevitable. Even in daily life, private measurement creates clarity and self-accountability. The person who tracks their fitness, writes down each workout, monitors calories, or records running times is able to see improvement that the eye alone cannot detect. They celebrate the unseen victories, such as adding an extra rep, running a few seconds faster, or improving endurance. Without this private record, progress feels random, achievement feels inconsistent, and motivation falters. The act of measuring quietly allows for reflection, adjustment, and persistence. It trains the mind to value effort over recognition and mastery over approval. Consider the young professional who is learning a new skill at work. They keep notes, practice in their own time, and reflect on mistakes without announcing each attempt. Their colleagues may not notice, and no immediate recognition may come, but they are building a level of competence and confidence that will make them indispensable. Measuring privately ensures that progress is based on reality, not perception. It removes the distraction of comparison, envy, or external judgment, and replaces it with self-awareness, intentional growth, and a roadmap for improvement. Even in personal habits, measuring privately is transformative. The person who tracks their daily reading, journaling, or meditation is able to recognize patterns, understand weaknesses, and celebrate small victories that no one else will witness. The writer who marks pages completed, the artist who records sketches finished, the musician who notes hours practiced, all create invisible proof of dedication and progress. These private measurements are not for show. They are for growth. They are for refining skill. They are for building character. Over time, what is measured quietly in private manifests publicly in results that cannot be ignored. Think about the entrepreneur who maintains a private spreadsheet of daily goals, sales calls, and client interactions. To outsiders, there may appear to be little progress, but the entrepreneur knows exactly how far they have come, what works, what fails, and where to focus next. Their confidence is not inflated by public praise, but grounded in self-knowledge. The power of measuring privately is that it creates independence from external validation, allowing you to focus on what truly matters, your own growth and development. Even relationships benefit from private measurement. The parent who tracks moments spent with children, the spouse who reflects on daily efforts to nurture connection, the friend who quietly evaluates how they support others. These private reflections improve empathy, patience, and emotional intelligence. Measuring progress privately is not about judgment or perfection. It is about awareness, improvement, and intentionality in actions that matter most. It allows you to see your own journey clearly and to make informed adjustments without being swayed by opinion, gossip, or the superficial judgments of others. Consider the everyday examples: the student who reviews mistakes silently after exams, the athlete who times laps and notes improvements alone, the office worker who keeps a private checklist of tasks completed efficiently, the artist who compares sketches week by week, the coder who logs errors and corrections without announcing them. Each of these acts of private measurement creates self-mastery, focus, and long-term results that are far more valuable than the fleeting attention of others. Private measurement also builds resilience. It teaches you to rely on yourself for feedback and motivation rather than seeking constant approval from the crowd. The habit of evaluating your own growth, celebrating progress quietly, and adjusting when necessary strengthens self-confidence and self-discipline. It is in this private accountability that transformation occurs because it encourages honesty, reflection, and persistence. Those who measure progress privately do not fear criticism, they do not require applause, and they do not compare themselves to others. They move steadily toward their goals, guided by reality, effort, and truth. Measuring progress privately turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. It is the difference between temporary achievement and lasting excellence, between superficial success and meaningful growth, between a life shaped by others' opinions and a life guided by personal purpose, vision, and commitment. And giving more than you take is the principle that creates influence, impact, and lasting fulfillment. It is not about wealth, status, or recognition. It is about contribution, value, and the understanding that life rewards those who serve others without expecting anything in return. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to attract opportunities effortlessly, how others rise in influence without aggressively seeking it, and how their presence inspires trust, respect, and loyalty? It is because they understand the power of giving more than they take. Consider the neighbor who spends time helping an elderly person carry groceries, the coworker who assists others without complaint, or the friend who listens when no one else does. Their actions, small as they may seem, create ripples that return to them in ways they cannot predict. Giving more than you take is not a transaction. It is a legacy in motion. Look at the young professional who mentors colleagues quietly, sharing knowledge and insight freely without claiming credit. They invest their time and energy in others, knowing that lifting someone else does not diminish their own potential. In fact, their generosity multiplies their influence, creating allies, relationships, and networks that grow organically. The person who gives without expecting immediate return cultivates trust, credibility, and respect, which are far more valuable than temporary advantage. Even small acts of giving, answering a question for someone, offering guidance, or sharing resources, become seeds that bloom into long-term impact, creating a life that others admire and wish to emulate. Giving more than you take is evident in daily life when people make conscious choices to contribute beyond obligation. The parent who spends extra time with children, teaching lessons, reading together, and nurturing character is giving more than they take because the reward is not instant and the effort is greater than what is required. The teacher who stays after school to help struggling students, the cashier who smiles and treats each customer with care, the janitor who ensures the environment is clean and welcoming, all of these are examples of giving beyond necessity, and each act strengthens character, builds reputation, and produces unseen value that compounds over time. Consider the entrepreneur who provides value to customers without cutting corners, who offers advice to competitors when asked, who supports employees beyond paychecks. This person may not receive immediate recognition, but the trust, loyalty, and goodwill they cultivate create a long-term advantage that no shortcut can achieve. Giving more than you take is not about exploitation. It is about abundance, understanding that by lifting others, you are elevating yourself. The principle works in small ways too. The driver who yields to another car, the coworker who helps a colleague complete a project, the friend who sacrifices time to provide support. These acts create a ripple effect, and life eventually mirrors the generosity we put into it. Even in personal development, giving more than you take is transformative. Consider the student who shares notes, tutors peers, or collaborates without seeking credit. While others focus solely on what they can gain, the generous student multiplies learning, builds relationships, and gains experiences that cannot be purchased. The musician who shares techniques, the writer who mentors beginners, the coder who assists fellow programmers. All these acts of giving quietly build reputation, influence, and a network of support. The law is consistent. Those who give selflessly create returns far greater than those who seek only for themselves. Giving more than you take also cultivates humility and perspective. It teaches that life is not only about personal gain, but about creating impact, leaving a legacy, and making the environment around you better. Consider the nurse who works long shifts not only to complete tasks but to comfort patients, the volunteer who spends weekends feeding the homeless, or the neighbor who repairs a fence or mows a lawn without being asked. The immediate return may be zero, but the long-term effect on character, influence, and opportunity is immeasurable. Generosity shapes identity, attracts others, and positions a person for success that is both material and spiritual, because the world tends to respond to those who give beyond expectation. Even the most ordinary daily examples demonstrate this principle: the coworker who makes coffee for the team, the student who helps a friend understand a difficult subject, the driver who assists a stranded motorist, the chef who stays late to perfect a dish for diners, the friend who listens patiently during a crisis. These acts, though unnoticed by many, compound over time into a pattern of generosity that builds character, trust, and influence. Giving more than you take creates a foundation for relationships, opportunities, and success that cannot be replicated by selfishness or transactional thinking. Giving more than you take requires intentionality, courage, and vision. It is easy to take what is offered and to protect personal interests, but it is difficult to extend energy, time, or resources without expectation of immediate return. The person who masters this principle becomes a magnet for opportunities, allies in success, because they operate from abundance rather than scarcity. The world may not always notice the sacrifices, the extra effort, or the silent generosity, but life always responds, and the cumulative effect of giving becomes a force that transforms not only the giver, but also everyone around them. The habit of giving more than you take turns ordinary life into extraordinary impact. It is the difference between fleeting recognition and lasting influence, between temporary satisfaction and enduring fulfillment, and between a life shaped by self-interest and a life guided by contribution, purpose, and meaningful legacy. Life is not about waiting for opportunities to knock. It is about building yourself in silence until the door opens and the world cannot ignore your presence. The greatest victories are rarely witnessed by the crowd in the beginning. They are forged in the quiet hours when no one is watching, in the small, consistent actions taken day after day, moment after moment. It is in the discipline to rise early, to read when others rest, to practice when others play, and to work on yourself while the world is distracted that true transformation happens. You must understand that greatness is not a result of luck or chance. It is the accumulation of deliberate effort, intentional decisions, and unwavering commitment to your own growth. Every one of us has the power to transform our lives, but it begins with awareness. You cannot expect to achieve extraordinary things if you do not first recognize the potential that lies dormant within you. Knowing your purpose is the compass that guides every decision, the light that illuminates every step, and the force that drives you forward when the path is unclear. Without purpose, effort is scattered, energy is wasted, and dreams remain fragile. With purpose, even small actions gain significance, setbacks become lessons, and every obstacle transforms into a stepping stone toward your destiny. Remember the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson: the purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. Every moment you invest in yourself and in others carries the weight of your purpose. And that weight is what shapes legacies. Investing in yourself is not selfish, it is essential. The more you grow, the more you can give, the more you can influence, and the more your life multiplies impact beyond your imagination. Consider the person who chooses to read, to study, to practice, and to cultivate skill quietly without announcing every small victory. When opportunity comes, they are prepared, confident, and equipped to excel. Your personal growth is your responsibility, your asset, and your gift to the world. As Jim Rohn said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. When you invest in your mind, body, and character, you become unstoppable, and no external circumstance can dictate your success. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. It is the quiet force that allows you to show up, even when motivation fades, even when results are slow, and even when the world doubts you. It is why champions train in silence, why leaders continue learning when no one is watching, and why ordinary people transform into extraordinary ones over time. Discipline is not restrictive. It is liberating. It is the freedom to create the life you want, to rise above mediocrity, and to master yourself in ways that no circumstance can undo. Remember the words of Tony Robbins, "It is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped." Every choice to act, to endure, and to persist strengthens the foundation of the life you are building. Staying away from distractions is the hidden superpower of achievers. The ability to focus, to protect your attention, and to dedicate energy to what truly matters sets you apart from those who drift aimlessly. The world will tempt you, pull you in every direction, and celebrate business without productivity. But those who learn to say no, who guard their time and energy, and who invest themselves deliberately are the ones who achieve extraordinary results. In every quiet hour of focus, you are shaping your mind, your skills, and your future. Warren Buffett said, "The difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything." Choose your focus wisely, and your life will reflect the power of that focus. Mastering patience allows you to endure the delays, the obstacles, and the discomfort that naturally arise on the path to success. Growth is rarely immediate, and transformation cannot be rushed. The person who remains patient, who trusts the process, and who continues working quietly behind the scenes is the one who ultimately reaps the rewards. Life rewards consistency and endurance far more than impulsive effort or instant gratification. As Jean de la Bruyere wisely observed, patience is the art of hoping. Hope, combined with persistent effort, is a force that can move mountains and transform the impossible into reality. Measuring your progress privately ensures that your growth is authentic, self-driven, and grounded in reality rather than external approval. When you track effort, reflect on improvement, and refine your approach quietly, you cultivate mastery that cannot be shaken by criticism, envy, or temporary recognition. The person who measures themselves against their own potential rather than comparing to others is building an unshakable foundation for long-term achievement. As Michelangelo said, the greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it is too low and we reach it. Measure yourself in private, aim in silence, and watch as the results surpass every expectation. Giving more than you take is the force multiplier of success and influence. Generosity creates trust, builds relationships, and multiplies opportunities in ways that cannot be manufactured. The person who serves quietly, who lifts others without seeking credit, and who contributes value consistently becomes indispensable, admired, and remembered. Life is a reflection of what you put in, and those who give selflessly often receive in ways that are far greater than what they imagined. As Jimmy Carter said, "We become not a melting pot, but a beautiful mosaic." Different people, different beliefs, different yearnings, different hopes, different dreams. When you give more than you take, you contribute to the mosaic of life, creating beauty, influence, and impact far beyond yourself. The journey of building yourself silently is not easy. It is demanding, challenging, and requires courage. But it is also deeply rewarding, empowering, and transformative. The person who commits to their growth, who focuses quietly, who embraces discipline, patience, and generosity, and who measures progress privately becomes unstoppable. They inspire others not through words, but through actions. They demonstrate that excellence is not a performance for the world. It is a commitment to oneself. Life honors those who prepare in silence and act with purpose. So commit today to building yourself in ways that matter, to mastering habits that elevate, to protecting your focus, and to contributing generously. The world may not notice the effort now, but one day your results will speak with such power and magnitude that no one can ignore the life you have created. Remember the words of Steve Jobs. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Be patient, be disciplined, stay focused, measure yourself, give generously, and trust the process, because the life you dream of is being built quietly, step by step, habit by habit, day by day, in the hours when no one is watching, and it will emerge with unstoppable force. So here is the truth. While the world is busy talking, showing off, and competing for attention, you have the opportunity to become the person who achieves quietly, consistently, and powerfully. Build yourself silently, master your craft, sharpen your mind, and refine your character. The world will eventually notice, but your reward is not the applause. It is the unstoppable power, the freedom, and the fulfillment of living your purpose. Remember, the loudest people rarely achieve the greatest results. Be patient, be disciplined, be silent, and watch how the world has no choice but to respect the force you have become. The choice is yours. Will you be another voice in the crowd, or will you become a silent architect of your destiny?